no, it won't. You gotta.
No, okay, 1, 2.
Touch.
It's good. It's good. We're rolling.
Okay.
And we're back.
Hi. I'm talking with Marshall about his visit. You came back here hoping to see Marian among others,
Yes.
and she died just a couple of days before you got here. 2 years ago, almost to the day, I forgot a daycare child in our daycare van. It was after a very difficult field trip where we were horseback riding, and my very, very old friend is dying of cancer, and she worked really hard with the children even though she was greatly diminished by her cancer. And I got back here and I forgot one of the daycare children. There's really no excuse. I closed the van up and he was in the van for 80 minutes by himself, terrified. It was a very frightening experience.
Sleeping for not sure how long of it.
Yeah, he was asleep when I closed him in there, which is why I didn't completely check. I messed up in a big way. And the daycare was closed, and this was very, very hard on Marian, mostly because the children were abruptly kicked out of the daycare, and the toddlers and the preschoolers were horrified that their child care provider, who loved them, kicked them out and abandoned them and couldn't see them anymore. And we, after the betrayal of the child that I left, all the other children, the teenage helpers, all of the other children, especially the babies and toddlers, were totally betrayed. Even the child that I had left in the van was very upset that he wasn't coming to daycare anymore because he had friends here.
Of course.
And so the state was supposed to let us, the state gave us a conditional license, and you're supposed to stay open while you're waiting for your trial, because the sensible, kind people at the state legislature put it into law that the daycare has to be kept open or allowed to be open while you're waiting for your trial, which takes 9, 10, 11 months, maybe a year to go to trial. And if the accusations are mistaken or there's some reason why the daycare should stay open, that way it prevents a very grave injustice. An injustice which hurts the child care provider and the children and the families.
Disrupting their lives, their
disrupting
development, their routine, everything that they're dealing with.
Yes, their friendships, yes. And making them feel that adults are unreliable. It's pretty horrible. So we were supposed to reopen, and Hennepin County said that we could reopen if and only if we hired 2 shadows. They couldn't be people who had worked here at the time that we were closed, and they basically had to be new people. They had to be here every minute that we were here. They said that it was inconceivable that one person could watch us and keep the children safe, even though we'd had over 44 years of experience with only one incident of which rose to this level or endangered any of the children ever.
That was their words? Inconceivable?
No. Well, she said it was inconceivable that only one person could watch us and keep the children safe. Yes, and that's what she wrote, inconceivable.
Did her friend say, I'm Inigo Montoya, you killed my father, prepare to die?
I don't think they have any sense of humor or any awareness of anything beyond their little office walls.
Seems pretty evident.
And that meant that these people had to be paid full salaries, 2 people, each one of them earning 4 times what me and Marian earn. And they had to be here 52 hours a week, so 12 hours of overtime on top of the 40 hours a week.
So not legally, but de facto shutting you down.
Yes, right. De facto saying that we could not open up again. And you and I discussed this, and you said some interesting things.
Which actually went against a court order, which is interesting. So they
Well,
basically
it went
found
against
a loophole.
it went against the law. They found a loophole to break the law. Yes. And I just appreciate the fact that you noticed that right away. That it was a loophole, specifically, in my opinion, but. I hadn't talked to you. I just told you what their requirements were. And you immediately said,
yeah.
All right. So, and then we got to talk about parenting. You have, how old are your children now?
I have 2 kids. My youngest, Zara, just turned 4 in April. And Muiz will be turning 6 this November.
And how are you liking that?
Liking the monsters?
Yeah, being a parent.
I wish I had you guys around, that's for sure, for guidance, for support, for more kids. My son is on the spectrum of autism, and I've been going from place to place to place in Barcelona, looking through the city, through the region, through private places to find some assistance and help for socialization and linguistic support. And basically it's pretty simple. He would benefit greatly from activities, but he needs to have smaller groups. He needs to have a more, how can I put it? I mean, it's not going to function properly in a group of 25 kids. So if there's an after-school activity that has a huge group of kids, there's basically no way that he'll be involved because they can't handle that. They're not equipped for that. And literally seconds before I heard the very, very sad news about Marian's passing, I was discussing with my mother logistically how to actually get my son from Barcelona to come and stay in the daycare maybe for a week or a month or 2 months this summer, and to see obviously availability, people's health, and all that kind of stuff. So the question was, I wanted to come to you and Marian.
I can't tell you how much we wanted to do that. I can't tell you how much we wanted to do that.
What was that?
We would have. It was my master, my ruler and master, my phone.
Okay. Just want to make sure this didn't turn off because.
No, the recorder's working beautifully. Yeah, we talked about that all the time. How are we going to get Marshall's kids?
Well, I mentioned this before as well.
So
that one of my biggest regrets was 1, not having kids sooner, and 2, not being closer in the world to be able to bring them here. Because obviously there would be no hesitation. I heard about your legal difficulties with, I don't know if it's the county or if it's the state.
Both.
I knew about that, and as I told you, if any parent has ever not made a mistake, I would like to meet them with their children. But that doesn't mean that you stop being a parent, that you can throw in the towel and say, well, I guess I can't deal with my children anymore. No, it's very possible that you're a loving parent, that you love your kids, and it's possible to make a mistake. We are human, therefore fallible, but that, anyway, so long story short, I had been hoping forever to be able to bring any children that I would have to the daycare. And like I said, seconds before I found out the news, I'd just been discussing with my mother if I would bring my son back on the plane, if she would bring him back, if she's able, if the 2 of you would be available, how your health was, what your summer schedule looked like, to actually see, because I knew that he would get such loving care, such helpful, such a world of possibilities. And again, it's hard to put into words.
We had been planning this in some detail, what we were going to do over the next couple of years, and I believe it would have worked out really spectacularly. We had decided, in fact, the boy that I left in the car, the boy that I betrayed with my terrible mistake, was going to be our last enrollee. He was the last kid that Turner and Corporate Child Care were ever going to enroll, with the exception of somebody who came back from Indonesia or Spain and brought a daycare grandchild. That was going to be it. We were going to wind the daycare down, just let it get smaller and smaller.
So how many
graduate the kids,
grandchildren
push them
have
out
you
the
had?
door.
How many former daycare kids had their kids and are obviously close enough by.
Very few.
That's the challenge. Is people
yeah.
move. Yeah, that's
Yes,
the
they
challenge.
move. They move
That's the
away.
challenge.
They're in Canada,
And I can guarantee you that once you
Seattle.
do more of these, you will find out how many of them wish that they had you and Marian within driving or walking distance.
Yeah.
Because I was able to walk to the daycare. I didn't know. I hate to break this to Americans, but not all of us use cars. Not all of us like cars. I would walk to the daycare, and I would walk home, and I would walk to school.
Yes, well, one of the big deals that was really great in the daycare that I just loved was taking the school children to school. The little kids would come along, and then we would, before the schools were patrolled by armed guards and had electrified fences and radar and laser targeting systems to make sure that everything was okay. Me and the little kids could walk into the school with you, with Hillary, with Ani, and when we would see you go into your classroom, and the other kids would wave, and they would yell, and they would see the little kids. The children in your classroom and Ani's classroom, they knew the little kids in my daycare by name.
Yeah, and they would and the younger ones seeing the older ones go off would get a sense of things to come and be looking forward to going to school.
Yes, they would be all excited about going to school.
The opposite of foreboding and apprehension, they're excited. They're, that's the next evolution and progression.
Yes. Yeah. Not clinging on to your parent and saying, no, I don't want to go to school, like I did when I started kindergarten, which I totally loved. But my first day at kindergarten, I had never been anyplace except strictly at home.
Well, and you don't know anyone, and it's scary, so it's understandable. But when you have other people that are excited to go.
So tell us about your opinion, having lived in many places in the world, in many cultures. What is your opinion about when a parent makes a mistake and a child has to have stitches, or they break an arm, or they get a scraped knee? What do you? I mean, we're almost done with the interview, but I'd like to just get your opinion on what that means in the family.
But I'm really biased because I am an active person. I was an active kid, and nothing makes me happier than to see my children be active. I'm actually more afraid of them not being active, of them not taking chances, and not sometimes walking on an edge of, I don't mean of a cliff, but I mean of something that's a little bit elevated. So they get a little bit of frisson, they get a little bit of titillation to see, can I do it? Am I able to, franchir une étape, to be able to, how do you say in English?
Your English is going away. I love it. Well, and what happens if they get hurt? What do you think? You think the children should be put in foster care? You think the parents should go into counseling?
Again, I'm happy to say that I'm biased. I think if you don't have any character building moments, then you don't build character. And that's a sad thing, because the other end of the spectrum is that you're a chicken that grows up in a little cell and your whole life is safe because you've had no experiences and you have nothing to fall back on. You're not independent. You don't have any strength of character. You don't have any willpower. You you are afraid for any new possible horizon, for any potential adventure, for anything new and unknown. You're not ready for it. You're not prepared, and you may be terrified. And that's a horrible thing for any child, in my opinion.
Well, obviously, I agree with you, because that's the way I ran my daycare. But the latest and greatest, the hottest thing right now in Minnesota child care is for the care provider to position herself in the room. They call it line of sight. And the care provider is supposed to position herself so that she can see all of the children all the time. If you're in a situation down at the park where a child might, say, go on the other side of a slide so that you can climb up onto the slide, and while they're on the ladder and you're not seeing them, then you're not doing your job.
Again, it's great on paper, but the reality is you can see a storm cloud, but you can't stop the rain from falling on you and getting wet. So what's the difference? If you watch it happening, that means that you're just there two steps quicker to comfort a child, but you can't prevent a child from ever falling. You can't prevent a child from ever scraping their knee.
The gold standard is that nothing like that should ever happen. And the licensing workers and the people writing the rules, that is what they expect. They expect that you'll be able to take care of 10 or 14 children for 30 years or 40 years or 50 years, and that none of the children will ever bite each other. There will be no hitting. If there is hitting, if one child hits another child, you have several page report that you have to fill out showing why it was terrible, how sorry you are.
Yeah, I would just hope
everything that you're going to do to make sure it never happens again.
Margin to interpret the rule. It's important to have rules.
They
I
do.
understand
They do have
rules,
a margin.
but to be able to interpret the rules and to
Yes.
understand that life is a real thing. It's not a theoretical thing. Theoretically, we would always be able to watch our children within arm's reach. They'd never fall. They'd never touch the ground. They'd never get hurt. But that actually isn't a healthy thing.
It's not a healthy thing.
They sometimes need to fall to know that they can pick themselves up, to know that they do not need mommy and daddy to pick them up, because one day mommy and daddy won't be there to pick them up, and they need to have the sense of character and the fortitude to realize, I've done this before, I can handle this. And being able to handle things in life is a really big deal.
Yeah. Yes. Aristotle said that courage is the fundamental virtue because it's the one that all of the other virtues were based on. When you don't have courage, it's going to be very hard to be charitable or kind or generous or empathetic or sympathetic. Children must have courage. They must develop character and have courage. I think we're done.
Good.
Thank you for the great interview.
Thank you, Michael.
Really nice to have you back visiting.
I'm still going to bring Louise.
We love you. Marian loves you. We love you.
I'm still going to bring Louise. Then I have to figure out schedules because there's too much fun stuff. And my daughter wants to dress up as a princess, and I've seen all the costumes and the
Yes.
butterfly wings. She will lose her mind.
She'll
never want to leave or take them off.
I will keep all of the princess costumes here until you get here with them. I promise you, the princess costumes will still be here when they come to visit. But Marian won't. I'm sorry. Thank you, audience. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Joe is going to have his editing job cut out for him.
Well,
All right, now
editing's
let's see
not that hard.
Let's see if we finally did it.